שיוויתי אדוני לנגדי תמיד, כי ממני בל אמות. לכן שמח ליבי ויגל כבודי, אף בשרי ישכון לבטח. I have set the eternal always before me. God is at my side, I shall not be moved. Therefore does my heart exult and my soul rejoice. My being is secure. For you will not abandon me to death, nor let your faithful one see destruction. You show me the path of life. Your presence brings fullness of joy. Enduring happiness is your gift, says Psalm 16. I'm Rabbi Keller here at Congregation B'nai Israel. I know that I speak on behalf of the family to say thank you for being here this morning. Please do me a favor and check your cell phones. Make sure that they are either off or on vibrate. Showing up is what is necessary, particularly in the Jewish world, in the Jewish community. Unfortunately, there are no special words that we can say. There are no incantations, no magic wands we can use that can erase this level of pain. But what we do have, what we have for ourselves is community. People who show up, people who call and check in and give hugs and kisses and bring food to families and to loved ones who are going through this unbelievable tragedy, this unbelievable challenge. The most difficult part, though, is that the showing up and the phone calls and the food and the love and the affection and the hugs and the kisses aren't only for today. They're for tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day and the next day. That's when it gets harder, and that's when we get back into our routines in our lives. But that's when the phone calls are most important. And that's when the hugs and the kisses are most important. That's when showing up is most important. So thank you for showing up today and right now. But especially thank you for showing up and for being present in the many difficult days to come. Death has taken our beloved Yasemin. Our friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence, there is lamentation. In their tears, there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, be with them. For Yasemin's love that united us in life and which death cannot sever. For her companionship that we shared along life's path and which continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of her heart and mind that brought us joy and happiness and is now a precious remembrance. For all these and more, we give our thanks to God. In this time of grief, we listen to the voice of our sacred scriptures that brings us the ever new message of God's nearness. It tells us of our kinship with the Creator, in light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, in life as in death. אשר האיש אשר לא הלך בהצעת רשעים ובדרך חטאים לא עמד. Happy are those who have not followed the counsel of the wicked, or taken the path of sinners, or joined the company of the insolent. Rather, the teaching of God is their delight, and they study that teaching day and night. They are like a tree planted beside streams of water that yields its fruit in season, whose foliage never fades and whose fruit always flourishes, says Psalm number 1. Adonai ro'i lo achsar, binot desher b'tzeni memenuchot shenahaleni. Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures, leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, from God, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. You see, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul, your going and coming, now and forever. And now the words from Ecclesiastes, probably written by King Solomon himself, and the words most recognizable by the birds, the band The Birds. For everything there is a season, a time for every experience under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. And so now we'll hear from 3 members of the family who will join us up here. First from Nuri, and then from Mel, and then from Jeremiah.
Thank you, Rabbi Keller. It was a great introduction. It is difficult for a father to stand up and give a presentation. However, I feel like Yasemin with us right now. Of course, her body is here, but I strongly believe her soul is also here. I look at her picture right there while I was sitting. I can see the connection. She is with here. My dear daughter, I did love you so much from the day you born. I am heartbroken, I know that. I am deeply sad. I am in sorrow. But despite all that, I just want to still hear your sweetie, melodious voice. I want to hear that, and that will be rest of my life with me. I want to see your beautiful face. That will be with me. I want to talk to you on the phone when I'm way far away from you to get the energy. Let me give you a little bit history of her 39 years, 10 days of lifespan. She was born to a highly educated immigrant mother and father. The day she born, I told myself, now I have to work much harder because I have another daughter, and she is with us right now, Mel. She was important part of my life to fulfill American dream. First generation immigrants come to this land of opportunities of this beautiful country and adopt themselves so quickly. They raise a family, that's their number one goal. And my wife was a great person to accomplish that. The years passed. She grown in a loving family, father, mother, hardworking father. I am a professor of Purdue University, engineering, mechanical engineering, almost 40 years. I did everything in my life. My wife was a wonderful housewife. She raised my children, 2 girls, in a good place. She dedicated her life, so I dedicated my time working for them. She grew up in Wichita, Kansas. Then later we moved to Chicago. That was a new life for us, all of us. We met so many new people. We had parties in our house almost every other month. We housed 200 people. My wife was just like Yasemin. She was well organized, very well disciplined. She was a street smart, and Yasemin had the identical characteristics of mom. Yasemin was very energetic. I can see that, I can feel that. When we are together, we don't need to talk. We look at our eyes, we understand each other immediately. What she's trying to tell me, what I try to tell her. She was very, very nice child as a growing one. She never gave any trouble to me, and I want to thank you for that, Yasemin. I think we gathered here so many of the loved ones. She wanted this place. In fact, I heard many times, I love this Ben Israel temple. I love this place. So Yasemin, we are here with all your loved ones. We are fulfilling your dream, one of your last dream almost, that you are going to be away from us, but the way you wanted. Going back to her childhood, she was growing fast. She came to high school levels, but the most notable one, 1993, when we went to Turkey. She had a 1 year span in Turkey. She was so happy there. She never wanted to come back. We came back. Then she adapted very quickly. And I promise you, Yasemin, we will adapt the same way as a baby Aria She resembles you a lot as a loving husband, dedicated husband, Jeremiah. We will adopt the same way you adopted when you come back from Turkey. And her sister, not only sister, she's like a mother, she's a friend. She dedicated her life to her sister, Mel, and Aria. In crisis of 2008, financial crisis, I had the opportunity to purchase a nice townhouse in Chicago. That was a 60-story building, high-rise, in the heart of Chicago, located 33 West Ontario, if some of you know the Chicago area. And she was very happy there. 1 year later, her sister joined back because she was doing residency in medical school at Johns Hopkins. She started working, her sister Mel, working at North Shore Hospital System as a resident. So now they are together, two sisters. I have an apartment, nice. We got a good deal and all this. I'm so happy. I'm living also Chicago, not too far from there. After a year, maybe less, I got another present from that apartment that she told me that she met this fellow who was her yoga student, and that was amazing. And that togetherness very shortly moved into marriage. I was really blessed having two beautiful children, now expanded family, and a husband loving his wife so much. She told me once, she bought me that car from downtown, BMW. You should have seen how excitingly he was going to downtown, bring that car to me. I want to thank Jeremiah for the years you did for my daughter as a husband. You are an amazing husband. You are dedicated. I see that signs now on Aria too. You are a great father as well. I have no doubt that Aria will grow with love, just like her mother grew. She was a yoga instructor. She was energetic, athletic, very well disciplined, organized. When Aria has friends, playroom gets so messy, she has to clean. She had to clean the room such a short period of time, just like her mother once. We had the parties of 200 people. We don't go sleep until we pick up everything. So she was very well organized person. I want to go back some of her characteristics. I know I have a little limited time, but energy, I want to talk about energy is very important in our lives. Yasemin had that energy. I teach graduate level course, advanced thermodynamics, where we cover the molecules energy, every single molecule. You know, we have a, let's say like this room filled by air, we have right now zillions. If you know from chemistry, Avogadro's number 6 times 10 to the 23 molecules. Each carries a different level of energy. Then later on, after the Einstein's theory of quantum mechanics, we learned that energy can travel in electromagnetic form. It can penetrate through the walls. So Yasemin had that high energy level. That's why probably she left us in such a short period of time, 39 years of span of her life. She is now traveling. We're going to follow her, Yasemin. We're going to follow you soon. I many times wish, God, please take me instead of her. I am an old man. I lived enough. My daughter and my grandchild and husband and my other daughter needs you more than me. But your wishes never come true. I would prefer I to go first, but didn't happen. But Yasemin, I'm here. I'm gonna make sure your dreams will continue. I'm gonna make sure your child, Arya, will grow. And I will do anything in my power. I will try to support her as much as I can. She loved Boca Raton, she loved Florida, and I want to thank the Nana Margie for that. They were here snowbirding 3-4 years, and last year they moved here. She loved here. She wanted to spend her last year here building a dream house. So that house in Woodfield Country Club is her design, her presence. I hope we can keep that for some time. Yasemin, I'm gonna really miss you. Yasemin, until we see each other on the next world, whatever the conditions, good or bad, I'm gonna be there. I hope you're gonna be in peace and rest in heaven. I am gonna come there. I will try to do my best, if God allows me, to find you, hold your hand, and live in eternity together too with your mother. Thank you, everyone.
Shalom and good morning. And thank you. It's hard to follow my dear father. I want to make a couple of comments to some of the beautiful things he says before I go into my own words. My father is such a humble man. You can clearly see very dedicated. In his humility, he said that wishes don't always come true. I would like to share something about Yasemin, though. Yasemin's wishes all came true. Yasemin demanded that life give her everything she wanted. Yasemin and I would always make vision boards together. I would be more in the clouds, give me health, give me peace, give me happiness. Yasemin was very specific. I want to live in Boca, I want to live in this house, I'm going to design it, I'm going to do everything my way, and I'm going to demand it. And so I want to share that a key lesson from Yasemin, that we demand what we want from life, not in an entitled way, but with humility, with grace, with warmth, that we ask for our wishes and we manifest our dreams. And I'll talk about my dear brother-in-law shortly, but I want to just make one quick addendum to the car and to talk about the kind of husband that Jeremiah was. That first car wasn't a BMW. It was a Volkswagen Beetle. Let's remember that Jeremiah is over 6 foot tall, and they lived in the city, and this was their only car. And from the very beginning, he loved our dear Yasemin so much. That tiny little car for this tall man is what she wanted, and it's what she got. And that's the kind of partner he was. And so I'd like to go now, and there will be a little bit of overlap, of course, but I want to share that almost 20 years ago, I stood before a group of dear friends and family, much like this one, and honored our mother with a tribute. Despite the agony of early mother loss, my mom's bright light guided me to find the words to articulate what she meant to us. I could never, ever have imagined that I would be standing here doing this for my dear sister so soon and too early. Once again, however, it is her most radiant light that guides me here today. Setting up the foundation for our great love story was a very peaceful and happy childhood, with parents who clearly loved us so tenderly. We had a nurturing mother and a most dedicated father who became a mother at times too. Yasemin and our dear Bubba spoke the same language and understood each other in a language that I'm not so proficient in, although my dad and I are so close too. They made each other sparkle with laughter. She was and will always be his little mouse. And she made it very clear to me and to him that he was our lottery and her first love. For all of our lives, but especially since we lost our dear mother, Yasemin and I have been each other's constants, always having had each other's backs. We were 19 and 21 when we lost our dear Maria Maryam. Since that time, we were best friends, best advocates, and at various times also filled the mother role for each other too. Sometimes maybe a little too much. It drove me nuts that despite the fact that there was only 20 months between us, strangers constantly asked if I was her mother. Not kidding. In the years since we lost our mom, we endured a lot of additional pain, with cancer always lurking, often lurking too close. But this was always diminished and overshadowed by our great joy. We always had fun, continuously laughed and smiled, and forever found gratitude and peace with each other, even calling the bad days our best, worst days. We loved spending time with our many mutual friends. All of our friends were the same because it was impossible to love one of us without loving the other. We loved traveling. Paris, New York, and California are favorites. We shopped way too much, and we did yoga together. Yoga means unity, oneness, and joining in Sanskrit. And this is exactly what it did for us. I found and studied yoga first. I frequently recommended it to Yasemin, but as her big sister, too often, if I recommended it first, she wasn't interested. But I like to think I planted the seeds. One day, after suffering from an acute back flare-up, she finally decided to give it a try and took off with it. Unlike me, who has many interests and an eagerness to study lots of different things, often sacrificing deep study, Yasemin never did things partially, only with steadfast commitment and deep dedication. She balanced her career in financial technology with her love for teaching yoga, sharing her knowledge and beautiful light with others. Through this example, I found a regular, more committed yoga practice, which very much helped me through my own rigorous medical training. We continuously found ways to water each other's seeds and give back to one another. As my dad mentioned, for 10 years we lived together in the heart of Chicago. Much of this time was during my internship, residency, and fellowship, where Yasemin nourished me with her food, her cooking, her smiles, and her encouragement. We often joke that we didn't need or want to find husbands because we were so happy with each other. But as our dear mother used to say, what is yours, no one can take. One day, a tall, handsome man walked into one of her yoga classes and introduced himself. A few days later, it turns out they ran into each other in the elevator and they lived in the same building. They were actually on their way to different yoga classes. Jeremiah didn't share this though, and he quickly changed course. He went to the class she was teaching, and they walked back together, and the rest was history. I actually ran into them on the street that day, and I remember the big smile that I had, seeing how someone my sister had just met had given her so much peace and ease in her face. Jeremiah openly, not only did he accept, he openly embraced the fact that my sister and I were a package deal, more like twins than older and younger sister. And we had the best time. We still have the best time together. They had a deep, impenetrable bond with a peaceful, unified love, marriage, and family, just like the yoga that brought them together. As their relationship grew, Yasemin's spiritual journey also flourished. She wanted to deepen her connection to the God we grew up loving, and together with Jeremiah, raise her daughter, her future child, in the Jewish faith. Despite a full-time job, health challenges, raising an infant and toddler, and the pandemic, Yasemin gave her studies her full heart, mind, and commitment. We were so proud of our Yael bat Sarah as she glowed during her adult bat mitzvah. Yasemin's love language was food. Many of you in here can attest to how remarkable of a chef she was. From the Rosh Hashanah dinners and seders she prepared, you would have been convinced that she came from generations of Jewish ancestors. Hanukkah parties with donuts and latkes for the kids were her favorite too. She had a magical touch in the kitchen, and just like our mother with hosting parties. Although Yasemin had pure and boundless love for her dad, sister, and husband, the greatest love of her life will always be her aria, her melody, and her air. In Hebrew, aria means line of God. Yasemin always loved how strong-willed, I always say that God copied and pasted her personality and determined her daughter is. Arya and her mommy loved going to the zoo together, to the movies, traveling to places as far as London alone together, and you guessed it, doing yoga together. Most of all, though, Yasemin loved cuddling her Arya. And though you can't see it, our sweetest girl, your mommy will always be cuddling you and connected to your heart with the invisible string. And your daddy and Titi will always love, protect, and cherish you and take care of you and keep you connected to your mommy. And in this sanctuary full of people who loved Yasemin and mommy so much are so many people who will be here to support and love you too. We are all gathered here in Florida, Yasemin's happiest place, where my dad didn't share, but he worked in NASA, and we spent many summers, happy summers as children here, and she had many joyful memories with my mom and dad. And later, where she grew so connected to the area and deeply connected to her mother-in-law, Margie, and her father-in-law, Ed, along with Jeremiah. She was determined to move here and was magnetic. We lovingly followed and made her dream a reality. The amazing community she built in such a short time living in Florida is a testament to her bright, radiant light. To our community, old and new, here in her treasured place, I share with you a quote from our favorite poet, Rumi. Goodbyes are only for those who love with their eyes, because for those who love with their heart and soul, there is no such thing as separation. And so, my beautiful sister, my best friend and soulmate, in the traditions of the many beautiful cultures and faiths we loved, rest peacefully and dance joyfully. Nurlar içinde kal, mekanın cennet olsun. Pochivai vomir, tuhi nishma to zuru Rabbi zor hakayim. Namaste, your memory is our blessing.
Well, that was hard to follow. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Gratitude. compassion. Gratitude, compassion, gratitude, compassion. Modeh ani lefono melech afa kayom, shezeh hezarto bineshmosi bechemno rabo emen asesho. I gratefully thank you, O living and eternal King, for you've returned my soul with compassion and faithfulness. This was our favorite prayer. This is a prayer, whilst not typical for this type of occasion, describes what happens when you wake up in the morning, when God comes down and gives you the kiss of life, breathes life back into your soul. Yasemin loved this prayer. We said this prayer almost every day. And notice, if you kind of listened, there's two bookends in the prayer: gratitude, compassion. And we talked about that a lot. We talked about what that meant inside of the prayer, how every day you get this breath of life once back. And every moment is the present moment, is what should be bound by gratitude and compassion. And it's no unusual circumstance or happenstance that present also means gift, which happens to be my daughter's favorite word. But this is the type of thing she would want me to talk about. Gratitude, compassion, gratitude, compassion, gratitude, compassion. My wife was fierce, as described beautifully by my father-in-law and sister-in-law. When she set her mind to something, it was made so. Like a force of nature, unstoppable. Have you seen our house? That's Yasemin. Have you seen our child? That's Yasemin. Have you seen her closet? That is certainly Yasemin. But she was so much more than these things. I'm here to tell you about some of the gifts that she bestowed upon me inside of our relationship and what that was like. Gratitude and compassion. Gratitude and compassion. Gratitude. Compassion. Early in our relationship, Yaz casually mentioned that she was sort of in love with this type of car, and there's a lot of car stories going on here, so I may as well tell you guys. Not paying much attention to the comment, I sort of forgot about it until about 6 months later. We were still dating. And it was time for me to get a new car. So I thought, wouldn't it be great to get her what she told me her dream car was, and we could share it, and, that would be great. We're only about 6 months into our dating life, so it perhaps was a little risky. However, I paid it no mind. I didn't even think it was a bad idea. I just thought it was a thing. And that was kind of a moment. It's about a car. It's just silly, but it was a moment where I realized that I cared more about her being happy than my own happiness. What was intended to be a gift for her actually turned into a gift for me. I learned how to care for someone more than myself, without expecting anything in return. That is the key, without expectation of reciprocation. She barged down the door in my heart and snuck in her way. My gift to her, her gift to me. Dare I say, she made an overgrown boy of 40 years old into a man in that very moment, perhaps. Made me a little bit of a better human being. From then on, I kind of recognized it was over. I was the luckiest man alive. Wake up next to her, this person, someone you wanted to be with every moment, someone you planned your life around into permanence, someone you were a little sad when you weren't with them, simply because you just were curious how she would react to her daily comings and goings. Lucky guy. Gratitude, compassion, gratitude, compassion, gratitude, compassion. She was the CEO of the house. Often she would say things like, important things, like, "Did you file the taxes?" To which I would reply, "You said you want some back scratches." And that was real. I wasn't joking. I really thought she said things like that because I was sort of lost in her silky brown eyes, the nape of her neck, the sound of her voice, her loving embrace. She would laugh at all my silliness and give me hugs and kisses, and then gently ask me again and 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 again until it was done. I'd give anything for that. Gratitude, compassion, gratitude, compassion, gratitude, compassion. But when it comes to gifts, she perhaps gave me the most consequentially profound gift, one in which I can never reciprocate, one in which I will be indebted to her in this life and the next. This gift defines me. It pushes me to be better, to love more, to think more, to grow. She gave me a beautiful, intelligent, wise, witty, kind, thoughtful, hysterically funny, miniature version of herself. My dear, sweet Aria. The one who teaches me how to be strong every day. You see, it's not just some manifestation of our love. We get to wake up every day and feel lucky once again. Not because she's there, but because I get to fall in love every day, over and over and over again. The feeling of falling in love. You remember what that felt like? I am blessed, beyond blessed. Every day, I fall in love. Again, not only with Aria, but Yasemin. Gratitude, compassion, gratitude, compassion, gratitude, compassion. She gave us hope. She would say in this moment, feel your emotions and let it go. It sounds simple, and guess what? It is. She would ask you to let go of all your negative thoughts and radiate gratitude, compassion, gratitude, compassion, gratitude, compassion. Recognize her death, but place more importance on her life, who she impacted, Don't get stuck, she would say, on an idea of fairness or tragedy. She would say, if you filled your heart with gratitude, there's really not much room for anything else. Let her life inspire. Yasmin, I promised you that I would take care of everyone, and I will keep my promise, and I am keeping my promise. Survived by the most amazing sister-in-law, the most honorable and loving father, the most darling of a daughter. I will be there for you with gentle consistency, with grace and strength, not only to honor my commitment to my dear wife, Yasemin, but because I love you with gratitude and compassion. And because that's how, Yasemin, you loved me. Gratitude, compassion, gratitude, compassion, gratitude, compassion. Thank you.
In the Jewish tradition, we believe that each person is born with a spark of divine light within their soul. And I think that this connects so perfectly with what we heard each family member talk about and her connection of soul. Particularly what Jeremiah just talked about with the words of Modeh Ani, which is the blessing we say every time we wake up in the morning. Because there's this theory that while we sleep, our soul actually is guarded by God. And so when we wake up and we take that breath, that first breath when we wake up, that breath, that's our soul coming back to us. And so we believe that each and every person is born with a spark of this divine light within their soul. And this morning we pray that the divine spirit will be with Yasemin's family as they make this painful transition to life without her. She made a difference to so many, especially to her family, of course, to Jeremiah and to Arya, Nuri, to Melton, Marjorie, Matthew, Tabitha, Adeline, and Althea June. And to those who preceded her in death, but are part of the very fabric of her life, Maria, Miriam, and Edward. As you heard, she was born in Wichita, Kansas, but grew up in the Chicago suburbs. I'll be specific. I heard you have to be very specific because it was Indiana, but she didn't like to say that it was Indiana, so she said the Chicago suburbs, which laid a large net over the area so that you felt like it wasn't Indiana, even though it was Indiana. Although she was born to a Turkish man and a Macedonian woman and grew up around the Chicago area, she always said that the best year of her life was in 4th grade when she was in Turkey. But truly, most of all, she loved Florida. She wanted to be here in Florida. She had a deep infatuation with the Sunshine State, and I am from the Sunshine State myself, and I don't get it. But, okay. Yasemin never did anything halfway. When she zeroed in on what she wanted, she jumped in with both feet. And when she did anything, and when she jumped in with those both feet, she did everything really well. She attended Purdue University, where she studied finance, and like everything else, she excelled, working in the finance industry, the finance world throughout her career. Most recently, she worked for the last 8 years as a VP at Invest. And I think that there are some reps here from Invest who are here to support the family. She was a woman who was filled with light. And when you were in her presence, you felt the light. She was energetic, extremely type A, fast-moving, intelligent, and decisive. As you heard, she had street smarts. She was athletic. She loved shopping. And you heard Mel explain the vision boards, that her vision boards were literal vision boards. And Mel actually called her the queen of manifestation. She dreamed it, and it happened. She was an incredible cook, never making the same dish twice, even though Jeremiah asked her sometimes to make the same dish a second time. It was never the same. And she really enjoyed yoga, as we heard, and she was an instructor. In fact, we also heard lucky that she was an instructor because Jeremiah showed up to that class one day. And we know how well that story goes. Particularly a story that, of course, brings us Arya and brings Arya into the world. Yasemin's mini-me. She did everything to the fullest, the cooking, the work, and the finance and the exercise. But most deeply, the thing that she zeroed in the most on and loved the most was her family. In the Jewish calendar, right now we are amidst what's known as the 3 weeks. Right now. These are the weeks that remind us of when the walls of Jerusalem fell and were breached hundreds of years ago. In fact, the 3 weeks that we're in will culminate in a few days on the 9th day of the Jewish month called Av. And it is actually the saddest day of the Jewish people on the entirety of the calendar. For us sitting here right now, we too feel like we are in the dark days and in dark days of sadness because the world has lost a ray of light. The world has lost Yasemin. Let all of us, though, be that light. Let all of us bring a healing glow to this wonderful, incredibly kind, sweet, and loving family. Zecher Tzadik Livracha, May the memory of this extremely righteous woman be for a blessing. Can there be a lament greater than for a young person's life lost? In the depths of grief and despair, O God, keep us strong so that we may help the stricken to regain strength. Help us to support them as they ask the inevitable questions. We grieve for what might have been, for joys unrealized, for tasks undone, for hopes thwarted, for growth arrested, for love blighted, for challenges unmet. Help us to bring consolation to the bereaved. Help us to raise them from the depths of sorrow, slowly, lovingly. Help us to lead them from the night of desolation to the dawn of another day. Then the memory of Yasemin will be able to return gently, peacefully to their hearts. May her memory live among them, allaying their grief, instructing them in the ways of living, and helping them to find meaning in the mystery of eternal life. God be with them and teach us to be with them as well. God, you give us loved ones and make them the strength of our life and the light of our eyes. They depart and they leave us bereft on a lonely way, but you are the living fountain from which the healing flows. To you, the stricken look for comfort and the sorrow-laden for consolation. O God, we see life as through windows that open on eternity. We see that love endures and the soul endures, as you, O God, endure forever. We see that the years are more than grass that withers, more than flowers that fade. They weave a timeless pattern in a world that is the dwelling place of your love and your glory, O God. We take some time now for our own silent prayers. Together we stand for Amalei Rachamim. אל מלא רחמים, שוכן במרומים, המצא מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה. עם קדושים וטהורים כזוהר, כי המזהירים את נשמת יעל בת אברהם ושרה, שהלכה לעולמה. בעל הרחמים יסתיריה בסתר כנפיו לעולמים, ואצור בצור חיים את נשמתה. אדוני הוא נחלתה, ותנוח בשלום המשכבה, ונאמר אמן. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Yasemin Green, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence. and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. As together we all say, Amen. Please be seated. We are going to pause our service here. The completion of the service will be a private interment at the gardens of Boca Raton immediately following the service. You are, everyone here and everyone on the live stream who might be able to join us later, are invited to the Green Home starting at 3 p.m. This afternoon through 7 p.m. That is tonight, tomorrow night, and Wednesday night, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. to the Green Home in Woodfield Country Club. Tonight at 6 p.m., there will be a Shiva Minyan service. The other 2 evenings will just be an opportunity to come and be present, like we discussed at the beginning of the service, and to show love and affection. Yasemin's name will be read here at Congregation B'nai Israel for the next month, both on Friday night and on Saturday morning here at CBI. Once again, we were going to pause here. We'll continue the service and the private interment, and all who would like are welcome to join for Shiva tonight, tomorrow, and Wednesday, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Green household. That concludes our service for this space right now. Is there anything else that you would like to add from the gardens? No? Okay. Please stand.